Today? All right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Are we ready? All right, so going ahead and call the Lander County Commission meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commissions to order. Ron, you wanna lead us in the
Absolutely.
legislation, please?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're gonna go ahead and have a moment of silence. All right. Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public board, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Commission reports on meetings, conferences, seminars attended. Did you have any?
No.
I had not had any. Brian?
No report.
Patsy?
Actually, we did cancel our airport advisory meeting, so we didn't have that. But I did attend the hearing that the Division of Water Resources held in our community room. This was regarding the proposed order within the Smith Creek Hydrographic Basin. And actually, the basin that they were proposing was everything in my district, actually, everything from Antelope Valley all the way down into Nye County. So I did attend that one, and who knows what's going to happen with it. But they're doing all kinds of new proposals for different basins throughout the state. So I thought that was important, but that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, moving forward, staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Alrighty, I will start with COVID. So, Lander County has to date 101 confirmed cases. 14 of them are active. 84 of them have recovered. 3 deaths, with one of them deaths last night. And I'd like the family of that to know that our thoughts and prayers of Lander County go out to them. I believe it's probably the first true COVID-associated death. The other 2, as we all know, were questionable. With that said, the state has reached back out and said that they are on the previous COVID death that was in question in Lander County, that the doctor even had said it was definitely a heart attack, and he was the provider on hand. That the state is only taking these for number purposes, that they are not actually reporting this on the death certificate, that's actually the doctor. So I don't know why they're taking them for reporting purposes if they aren't going to be reporting the truth. But that's here nor there, and just part of what I wanted to add to the other 2 so everybody's aware of that. So I want you to, our Lander County health officer has resigned. She will continue being our health nurse, but will no longer be the health officer. I'm assuming that position until we get somebody that's willing to take that. We're reaching out to different members of the hospital, doctors and nurses that may be interested to hopefully take that over. And they do all the COVID related reports and do the community type of responses. So I think that's an important thing and a good thing for the county. All in all, it takes a lot of weight off of our health nurse that has caused some strain. So it's better all the way around, I believe. So let me read on down here. We will convene our health board in order to appoint that. Probably I'm going to try to get that on the 12th, and if we can't find somebody on the 12th, then we will make that part of our meeting for the 16th for the canvassing of votes. So hopefully by the 16th we have somebody sitting in that position outside of myself. Our middle school will be closed until November 2nd due to COVID and close contacts, and I believe some positives. I don't know where the facts of that lie, but I do know that the entire school is closed until November 2nd. Our rapid test machines, we're expecting them by the 15th, and then the state reached back out and said, sorry, we're giving them to government-funded agencies first. And they pushed us out further, and then our hospital reached back out to them and said, hey, we are government-funded, we would like these machines, we need our results faster. And last I heard, as of yesterday, we had not heard back from them on if they were gonna bump us up or if that moved our status one way or the other. But right now, we're typically seeing about 8 days to find out on a test result. We have some that have stretched out as far as 11 days, and it's hard to contain this if that is the true concern of 11-day turnaround on 11-day turnaround for tests. Then in Austin, we did have a few weeks ago, I was just brought into this last week, we had a water leak, not per se a water leak, we had a water meter that was turned on, presumably by a contractor, and it flooded a old building downtown. The meter read 167,000 gallons ran through it. Now, I don't believe that reading is probably correct. I believe that they probably added a zero. I think there was probably 16,000 gallons that ran through it. And the building had been winterized, so the sinks and things like that were left on, and not all that water actually went into the building. So after speaking with legal, we did hire somebody to go up there and, do some water damage repairs to stop the molding and to the basics. We were going to try to attach this to the bond of the contractor and then have the contractor pay for this at the end. They were the responsible party. But being it's a Lander County job, we did have to step in.
Was this a county building or
No,
residential, commercial?
commercial. And then we did take over, so this is for update purposes only, and I will bring the numbers out. They're sitting in there on my desk. The contract that we took over with Austin Water and Sewer, we have an amendment that has been made. I would have put it on the agenda for discussion, possible action, but there can be no action taken since we took over the water and sewer district. We took over the contracts that were included with it. And so there were some adjustments, I believe from 700,000 and some change to 1,119,000 and some change was a change, and that's in different, we added meters, we added backflow preventers and pressure regulating valves, a bunch of other things that were added to the job after we took it over and seen what it was going to become if we just went back in the ground. We don't want to be cutting new asphalt to come back and put the proper stuff in the ground. So we reviewed the plans, made some changes, and that is at our expense. I want to read the update from the state for COVID. I know that this is getting to be a little bit long on the COVID, but I want everybody in the community to know where the state stands as a whole for COVID. And this was given to me on the 20th, so it's fairly new. The summary is, as of today, Nevada has logged 92,064 cases, an increase of 565 new cases. 356, approximately 63%, were in Clark County. 143, or approximately 25.3%, were in Washoe County. 66, or approximately 11%, were spread throughout the rest of the state. For the most recent 7-day period, cases are growing at a rate of 0.8, or 679 new cases per day. Nevada has now completed a total of 1,165,414 molecular tests since beginning of COVID. That is an increase of 9,385. I don't know where they're basing their increase off of because it didn't give me any more information. The test positive rate over the last 14 days is 9.3. Statewide hospital occupancy rates are at 76%. Ventilator use is at 21% statewide for all patients. There have been an increase in confirmed COVID-19 hospitalizations. However, the hospital infrastructure remains in good condition, with the relative demand placed on hospitals by COVID patients being 10%. Nevada has approximately 535 total hospitalized COVID-19 patients as of October 20th. This number includes 425 confirmed patients. There are 110 suspected patients. The number of COVID-19 patients requiring ICU levels care has remained essentially flat during the month of October. The number of ventilators required to treat COVID-19 patients continues to have a declining trend. So, in short, it's not the gloom and doom. We do have a lot of occupancy throughout the state of Nevada. We have room for 4 more people, and I believe that from what everybody is saying and the emails I'm getting from the governor's office, we're preparing for a COVID vaccination for, elderly. Fire, EMS should be coming very soon. They're putting together plans of inoculation, so we will see where this goes in the future.
All right.
Thank you, Bert. That was pretty darn detailed.
Thanks. All right, moving forward for public comment for non-agendized items only. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agendized items at the board's meeting, if any. The discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comment based upon time, place, or manner, but no public comment based upon viewpoint may be restricted. Is there any public comment? All right. I'm hearing any
Muted. Unmuted.
consent items. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of the County Commissioners with one action without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's Office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. Number 1, approval of October 22nd, 2020 agenda notice. 2, approval of May 7th, 2020 special budget workshop meeting minutes. 3, approval of May 14th, 2020 meeting minutes. 4, approval of May 19th, 2020 special budget workshop meeting minutes. Number 5, approval of July 23rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 6, approval of August 13th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 7, approval of August 27th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 8, approval of September 10th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 9, approval of September 24th, 2020 meeting minutes. 10, approval of October 8th, 2020 meeting minutes. 11, approval of payroll change requests. So that I'm aware of, we haven't received any meeting minutes, have we? Okay.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for number 1, the agenda notice, and number 11, the approval of payroll change requests.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Patsy made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Moving forward, for possible action to approve, disapprove the payments of bills. Within that, we're going to pull check number 209350 and 209432 from the bills.
And 209,
276. All right, and those.
I will make a motion that we approve all of the bills except for those 3 that you have just noted.
I'll second the motion.
All right. So Patsy made the motion, Brian seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will now make a motion that we approve check number 209276 for Commissioner Clark.
I'll second the motion.
Patsy made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I
Abstain?
abstain.
Alrighty, so,
And I now make a motion that we approve check number 209350 and 209432 for Point S.
Second.
alright, Patsy made the motion, Art seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstaining?
And I abstain, 'cause they're made to my employer.
Very good. Moving forward. for discussion and possible action regarding placing plexiglass partitions between commissioners during commissioners' meetings. All right, who wants to start that conversation?
Thank you. Yes, I had requested that we take a look at that with the partitions. A couple reasons. It's a good safety factor that people are using. I also think it sends a kind of a signal to the fact that this is a very serious COVID, and anything we can do that might reduce the risk in any way might be beneficial. I know there's some other thoughts on that, so we'll take a look at the rest and see what works out.
Brian?
So this is my 2 cents on it is, I don't think we need to, with this whole COVID thing. I think we either believe or we don't believe. And it's like, I'm not saying that it's not an illness, no different than SARS was, H1N was, any of these things. It is like, if we're going to do this, we should be wearing masks. And again, if you're concerned about getting an illness, wear a mask. That's my choice too. If people are worried about getting sick, that's your choice, wear a mask. I choose not to. To do something to give the appearance of, when you don't really fully believe it, I feel is wrong. And I'm not a believer, so outside of, I mean, if it's an infectious disease, I mean, it's, honestly, we go into restaurants, we wear a mask, we sit down to eat, we take our mask off to eat. Because you can't catch COVID when you're eating food, right? There's holes all over the place with this thing, and it's just, I'm able to think and speak for myself. I can do my own research, and that's where I stand on it.
All right, so, as Brian, I do a lot of research on, and I have had people I know and family members who have had COVID. Do I believe it's an illness? I absolutely do. But do I believe that, I don't know, I think the plexiglass, especially in this area, will hinder things because it makes it too hard to hear one another when we already have an issue with people being able to hear each other. And I think by putting up the plexiglass makes it that much harder for us to hear each other when one has spoken and the other's trying to hear what the other is saying. I think that if we feel that we need to wear masks, then we may wear a mask if we stay 6 feet apart. But I think that that's, entirely up to, a person if they want to wear a mask. But I don't think so much that those do anything but cause it harder for us to hear. And at this point, that's kind of my opinion.
And I'll also add that we actually were visited by OSHA, and that question was specifically asked in our work format. Can we put plexiglass partitions between us and be okay? And the answer was no. You will wear a mask. So that's what I'm saying. It's the inconsistencies, it's just, and that's from a state enforcement agency that told us that. So I think it would be a waste.
When I found out that this item was on the agenda, I read a few articles, and one of the articles was about stale or rancid air within the plexiglass enclosures promoting COVID. Okay, what do you believe? It's everywhere. The conflicting information is just overwhelming. Went out in the desert yesterday, just kicking around, can't get away from COVID. I picked up a can, COVID ointment for horses. Must have been 50 years old. Or I mean, it was a Corona ointment, not COVID. So it keeps coming at you all the time, and if you look at the numbers, Dr. Peters says that the numbers do not warrant a pandemic. I have great admiration for Dr. Peters. South Dakota, Sweden, Uganda, 45 million people, 9 confirmed deaths from COVID. 45 million people in a third world country, 9 people died of COVID because everybody's taking hydroxychloroquine, the malaria drug. So I'm 100% with Commissioner Sparks.
I'd like to point out too, Bert was reading us the updated numbers for the state. But again, we heard it firsthand that we have three deaths, one legitimate is how I feel about it. Why was the other one, the one that just, the massive heart attack? When we have a doctor of record who states it was died of a massive heart attack, but it was still reported. The state uses it. Why? Why do they use it? For what purpose? That's not what the person passed away of. So it's just, again, it's another hole. So just want to point that
Well,
out.
and with that being said, there's actually two cases of, that same issue of them having a prior illness, severe prior illness that was only given so long to live. And they passed away like it was going to be diagnosed, and it was diagnosed as COVID. And I really struggle with that because you're messing with numbers. And so it's very confusing to people, and I do believe COVID is real, but I don't believe when you start skewing numbers, even on the smallest amount, doesn't matter if it's this small of a number or this big of a number, when you start skewing the numbers, then they all blend in together and nothing means anything. So that's kind of my opinion.
The last thing I'm gonna say is, I don't put my faith in a piece of plastic or a piece of cloth. I put my faith in a higher position.
One thing I would like to point out is the CDC says that for every COVID death, that the average person that dies from this has 2.6 underlying conditions. This is something that I forgot to add to my update. And out of that 2.6, the highest risk factor for them is what they're seeing is diabetes and obesity. Them seem to be the larger factors, of it having a strong effect on you. Something else I'd like to point out to make sure that everybody's aware of is that, we do have the call-in. Anybody can always call in. It's the freedom of choice, so anybody can call in, and we do have face shields. If anybody, if somebody chooses to wear a face shield, that is the freedom of choice. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows we aren't trying to neglect anybody or put our patrons at any sort of risk, but we do like to have the freedom of choice.
Thank you. I'll just say I appreciate the discussion. Like I said, I was just hoping we might mitigate a risk, that's all. But I appreciate everyone's freedom and appreciate your comments today. So we'll just move on with that. I think part of why we choose not to use a mask is because it is very difficult to record and to understand everybody. So we did make that choice. So I was just looking for another way, but that's fine. Thank you.
That's good, and that's appreciated as well. So are we good? We just take that one, we just don't go anywhere, okay. All right, for discussion and possible action to plan an annual event with regards to the Lander County Christmas festivities. So last year was when we got this started, and it was something that I was hoping that we could continue on every year. And that was the idea behind it, is that between here in Austin and Kingston, that we continue to have festivities. It was so enjoyed by the community last year. It was kind of funny when you walked through the park, and even with the COVID issue, at the park, people can stay. They can choose to come or they cannot choose to come, and it's kind of up to them to go into the park if that's what we all decide to do. But it was so nice for the community to come together and how appreciative they were. And it was funny because the majority of the women you would hear, and some of the men, was like, oh my gosh, it looks like a Hallmark movie. And it's just uplifting, and I believe it's uplifting, and it was fun. And the people from the rec center, did a heck of a job, and they worked their butts off, and they were all involved, and they enjoyed it, as we did for the parade. I mean, there was a bunch of people from the center and from here that joined into it, which you want to do again this year. And when you start bringing people together like that, and it's fun, it was a fun time. So I thought, instead of having to revisit it every year, unless we're gonna plan some massive change to it at a time, then that could be brought forward. But from here on out, for here in Austin and Kingston, And that we from here can also, if Austin needs help, we can have volunteers if they're interested to go up there and help them with their stuff, if they so need. If they don't and wanna do it themselves, then by all means, but I just kinda wanted to do it as an annual thing instead of having to come revisit it every year. And if, like I said, there's any major costs that go with it that have to be brought back and forth and brought in front of us, yes, I would like to see that done, but moving forward, make this an annual kind of tradition going forward, so, anybody else have any comments?
Well, I think it was a great program. I think it should be continued. My only question is, can we plan an event past a term? That's my only question.
Oh, that I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we can go ahead and say, yeah, it's gonna be an annual event, but in the future,
Oh, I see.
someone can say, hey, we don't have the money, or hey, you know, we're not gonna celebrate Christmas because that's a tradition, or whatever the.
Oh, I see, okay.
So, I'm all for it. Uplifting, very much so. Enjoyed, you couldn't measure it. And to keep it going, absolutely.
I think even with it being an annual event, that it would have to still be agendized to make sure that we can provide county staffing to help
Oh,
assemble it.
absolutely.
So we could, it'll be back before every commission moving forward, it will just be labeled as an annual event.
Okay,
I'll make a
I'm
motion.
for it, yeah.
Anybody else?
Patsy, do you have anything?
No, I again appreciate what you're doing on this because the Chamber of Commerce in Austin was considering our tree lighting too, and will be handling that. And I was concerned with what we were going to do as far as activities here. So if we're gonna go ahead and just say, absolutely, let's go ahead and do Christmas. This is wonderful. So, but I agree, we can just make the motion for, an annual event because it's the second one, but it doesn't mean it will continue. So we'll just do it for this year. Is that what you're saying?
Is that what,
That's fine.
okay, that's fine.
Good.
Just as long as we're.
Commissioners,
Yes?
this is Ted. You can schedule an annual event. You just can't finance it, for except for the next 4 years. So what you would do is say, yes, we can establish an annual event, but it has to come in front of each commissioner each year, actually, or maybe at the budget to finance it.
Okay,
Yeah, we could put a line item in the budget
okay,
when we do that, and that way we can have it.
that's fine. So we can make sure that when it comes
Yeah.
up, that maybe we can combine the line item for this and for the 4th of July, because we do that
Sure.
You bet.
together, so the holiday festivities type thing.
Yeah, make a holiday line item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, very good. Alright, so do we have a motion for this year's?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, plan an annual event with regards to the Lander County Christmas festivities and to be included in the 4th of July budget line item.
I'll second.
Alright, so Art made the motion, second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, very good, thanks, very good. Number 4, discussion and possible action regarding a letter of protest regarding the withdrawal of AT&T's provider of last resort from Lander County.
Thank you. I had asked for this to be on again. This is one that we took on some time ago, actually. Sean Baker was our chair the last time we took AT&T on because a provider of last resort is what they have been throughout the whole country. And they started pulling out, and then when we got a hold of this a few years ago, the whole idea was if nobody else will service you, they will. So they will go back in and repair your lines and so forth and so on. So we said, what's happening here? And we went to the Consumer Affairs Division and they said, yes, this is what they're doing. Why don't you think about a survey or something to go before the PUC? The whole thing is AT&T is saying we have full coverage and they can show that by, excuse me, by the maps of other cell phone operators. Look, Lander County is totally covered. So we actually did over 139 surveys that said no, my cell phone is not available in this area, or it keeps cutting out, and so forth and so on. So we actually testified before the PUC, and they allowed Lander County to be exempt. So AT&T is our provider of last resort. They also exempted some other areas, but we were the only full county that pulled out. Now I see they have filed to do that again, and if you read everything, they say, oh, but it's not affecting any of your customers. Well, if it's not affecting us, why are they doing it? Of course it's affecting us. So I asked, we aren't gonna go through the whole thing with the survey and everything, and it is a virtual hearing. But one thing I did wanna do was a protest letter. So I did finish that last night, and unfortunately, I have no internet, and I thought everything was sent and it wasn't. And when I called Michelle this morning, my internet is still down and I can't access the letter that I wrote. But it's just an exemption letter. It references back to our information from last time. It also has a copy of the letter that we wrote last time, which was signed by our chair. And it asks us to be exempted again and says that the information is incorrect, that we are not covered all over the whole state of our county. And what I will do, when I get back home, hopefully internet is up so I can send this letter out again so Caitlin can put it on letterhead. We'll run it by our legal, of course, to make sure everything's proper. But basically, that's all I'm saying. And the other thing I would like us to do, I think since it is a virtual meeting and it's fairly easy to attend, I think perhaps we should ask Sheldon from NNRDA to represent us on that virtual meeting. It does affect all of the other counties, and I thought that might be kind of a nice addition to have him speak. He's so well-spoken on this, and kind of represent us, give him copies of the letter and such. So that would be our representation.
And that's a good idea, and he is very well spoken.
But that was just.
Let me get this right,
if you-
Patsy.
I'm sorry?
Let me get this right. AT&T was ready to pull out of Lander County?
A few years ago, oh yes. We fought that it took months for us to fight that. And we testified before the PUC and we won.
And so everybody that has AT&T will have no service.
Well, the thing is that doesn't mean they will pull out from service. It just means they no longer are designated by the federal government as provider of last resort, because you have service. So if someone moves in an area and the cell phone doesn't work in that area, AT&T doesn't have to repair the service. They don't have to give you new service. If they're provider of last resort, they do.
Well, I know from my internet service and my phone service, every time there's a windstorm, service is interrupted.
Well,
I mean,
it isn't just that. We have to think about the businesses that use it as protection for their credit cards. I mean, they don't want to use cell phones. Those can be hacked too easily. So they want to keep landlines. And of course, the whole idea is we're going to do away with landlines.
Because they're too
Okay.
expensive
That's
to
the whole
maintain.
point.
That's why they don't wanna do them.
okay.
So-
That therein is
Okay,
the issue,
so
because
if you're in-
landlines are more expensive than cell phones.
So if you're in favor of just the, it's a protest letter and saying we would like to be excluded again because we still do not have the service that they claim we do.
Well, and that goes, not this year, last summer, that when there was the fire by Rye Patch, it burned those lines, and you couldn't access your money at the banks. Everybody was cash only. You couldn't. No, you couldn't get money. You couldn't access stuff because the line, they all their stuff was fiber optic, burned it, and so everywhere in town you had to use cash. Well, but you couldn't get cash from the bank because it really is a big deal that they maintain those lines because.
Fiber optics in the ground, how did it
I
burn?
know, that's what I was thinking.
Because they said it was the burning of the fiber optics, but I don't think those were grounded
Oh.
fiber optic lines that burnt. So, but the grounded ones are the ones you wanna keep so they can be protected from stuff, but I don't think these were grounded, cause it burned through them, and I don't know if anybody remembers that, but you couldn't use, your card, you couldn't get money from the bank, you couldn't do anything for about a day and a half.
I will go ahead and make the motion that we do send the letter of protest regarding the withdrawal of AT&T provider of last resort and authorize our chair to sign.
I will second your motion,
All
Patsy.
right, so Patsy made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Good, thank you, Patsy.
Thank you.
All right. So number 5, for the clerk's office, update only on the Lander County clerks regarding the 2020 elections.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, it's Richard Green for the record. How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
I'm fair. I've got some numbers for you. We have 3,343 of voters that have totally checked in. 1,124 have, we've got absentee ballots for and in-person total. The in-person total is 648. And the absentee is 476. So in the last four days over there at Early Vote, we've had 648 people show up. So it's been a pretty good turnout so far.
Yeah.
The total is 33.6 out of all of them that are eligible to vote.
Nobody speaking Russian or Chinese?
Not that I'm aware of. We've had a little problem with the internet service. It kind of bounced. So I fashioned an AP, an access point, and did basically a weapons grade encryption on it, so we can get it out of here because it was bouncing up and down. And it was throwing the numbers off. So not the numbers were inaccurate; they would just queue and wait for a signal. So the numbers that were running wouldn't be actually accurate to the minute. So I fashioned this AP so the numbers would be per second, not per whenever we had signal. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Okay. Any questions for me?
Thank you for the update. And then are you gonna be upstairs all day, or are you all back and forth?
I'm back and forth everywhere. I was hoping to clone myself because, I was actually going to clone myself 3 times. You know, one of me is going to stay at home.
Well, good luck with that.
Yes,
So-
I'll let you know how that turns out.
All right. Thank you so much for the update, it's appreciated. All right. So, for Great Basin Community College, for possible action to disapprove the lease agreement between Lander County and Great Basin Community College for the building and grounds adjacent to North Second and Scott Street.
This is a renewal and it's been reviewed by our legal. Seems to be good, I believe.
Everything's fine with it?
I'll make a motion that we approve the lease agreement between Lander County and Great Basin Community College for the building and grounds adjacent to North Second Street and Scott Street. I have a question about, as I read this, the grounds. The grounds around that building are used by the county.
Correct. I'm not exactly sure what they have included in the grounds because the
We have
college
search
there
and
really does not
rescue in
take
the
up-
green- we have search and rescue in the
So-
green building, and we
well,
have county properties parked there.
It's the parking lot.
The
It's
oh,
part of the
parking, okay,
Diagonal from the building across the street.
gotcha, okay.
thank you.
I'll read my motion again. To approve the lease agreement between Lander County and Great Basin Community College for the building and grounds adjacent, meaning the parking lot, to North Second and Scott Street.
I'll second.
All right, so Art made the motion and Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good. Easy peasy. So, correspondence reports future agenda items. So, can I start off with that, something? I would like to see the update on the geothermal money. What's going on with that issue, please? And then also the, update on the invoices for the, for Summit. Please. And thank you. Do you have anything that you want to put on there for next time that you think of?
I do have some limited information. I know that this isn't the form to, but I do have limited information on both of them if you wanna stop by my office, but we
Okay.
will put it on the agenda for the entire board, because it's in progressive stages right now, so there's really not a bunch to update on, but just that we are moving forward. It hasn't been dropped.
All right, very good. Pardon me?
Fire ban?
The fire ban, the fire ban. So, so then do we have, with that, nothing more on that, do we have any more public comment?
What about as far as RS 2477 roads, where are we at on that, or what do we need to be doing?
Ted?
Ted?
Bert and I have discussed this, and I gave a blueprint on what the county has to do to follow the statutory obligations. We are waiting for that to happen. So you would have to ask Bert how far that process has gone in his department.
So,
What did you say? I didn't hear.
so Keith and Kyla?
Well, at one point, no, I'm not pointing a finger here at my predecessor. This falls squarely on my plate because it's been here since I've been here. So it's more of a Bert and Kyla at this point. I need to get with Kyla, I guess, and push this forward. There are a variety pack of options to choose from. All of them are probably going to require us hiring outside legal to move forward with.
6 years ago, I brought back the Nye County handout on the 2477 roads. Theirs were completed and accepted. So you can dig that up. That's a good template. Now, this has been 6 years we've been on this. Through Pool Lock and Sulak. This is a really time-consuming issue, and we want to make sure that we get all the roads that we want, all the 2 tracks. So this is going to be perhaps expensive, but we need to do this.
In the past, I thought there was a catalog that started of roads in Lander County, if I'm not mistaken. It was started.
It was started. But we're probably going to have to, my thought, I'm not a map maker, but I'm thinking we're going to have to fly drones and do it that way. I think that's the best way to do it.
So some of the concerns that are involved with that are some of these roads that were mapped go through private property. And segregating them out and making sure that we aren't trying to assert claim on a 2477 road or anywhere going down that road on private property and get the county in hot water it's a time-consuming process to make sure that we are on private and that we aren't. And the other concern that I have is by asserting claim on these roads, any roads that we miss, we aren't asserting claim on. And at that point, you lose them. I don't know who the enforcement is gonna be if somebody is using them roads that haven't had claim asserted on them, if the BLM is gonna go out and block them, or what the process would entail. But it is something of concern. My opinion differs slightly from legal's, and legal obviously trumps anything that my thoughts are. However, when we start down this of asserting claim, we're starting down a very dangerous road. I don't know that they can't say that it's not Lander County's right now. They would have to prove that it does not belong to Lander County at this point is my position, that it should be, the proof of the benefit of the road should be, the burden shouldn't lie on the county itself to prove that that road belongs to us because it's within the borders of Lander County and it's on public land. That should not be my personal stance. That should not be our position to prove that belonged to us. If they want to prove that it doesn't, I think that they should be the one that should bear the burden of the expense.
And that's where it changed with the law, was the burden of proof went on them, correct?
Went on, well, that's that Senate Bill 316,
Yes. Right.
which is, it goes on to the property owner. If somebody is to be trespassing on a property owner, they have to prove that that road was not open and freely used and all these other things. And is what that does in a nutshell is it really puts a burden on a property owner to post their ground as private and to eliminate any free access, which if anybody gets onto Onyx Maps and looks at the state of Nevada, you will, or even the Lander County, you will see that there's a tremendous amount of private property that we would all be blocked from using the minute that we start trying to assert claim on some of these roads that are going through private property. And I think these are valid concerns that we need to consider our public in when we move forward on these type of.
If I remember correctly, listening to Ken Brown, there's two issues. One, if you missed a road and it washed out, you couldn't repair it for travel. And the second thing was, on the private property issue, the county can go issue road by road by road, and the county commissioners can decide if that road's gonna be opened up, if it's really a benefit to the citizens, or if it's a better benefit to the ranchers.
I'm just thinking like the North Fork Road, you know, the one I'm talking.
That's been the one that's stuck in my throat.
Yeah, I know, it's been a debate for many years.
The gate, we found out, is on BLM property. I've told BLM about that. They're not doing a thing. I mean, I think that's the glowing star in the complaints as far as the roads around here. A great example.
Commissioners,
Yes.
there are two separate issues in this particular case. One is there's a statutory process to give notice to the Department of Transportation on which roads we are saying belong to Lander County. When Mr. Brown came in, he wasn't talking about that process. He talked about either quiet title or recordation. But the first step is to follow the statute and see if the Department of Transportation will accept our map of these 2.77 roads. And that's what Keith was supposed to be doing for the last so many years, but he hasn't done it. So my advice to Bert was that we need to follow the statute and declare which roads belong to Lander County, and we declare that to the Department of Transportation. And I agree with him as far as the quiet title action and the rest, and the recordation action. Now, that would require a lot of money, but we should have a map of all the roads, and we just follow the statute and send that to the Department of Transportation. Now, I'm not so sure that the Department of Transportation will even do it because of the politics in the state right now, but we have to do that, and that's what I'm suggesting, and that's my advice.
Well, Nye County got theirs done quickly because most of Nye County is the test site, so they didn't have as many roads as us, I would think. But I would entertain a motion or an item on the agenda to address this and to possibly hire an agency, an outside agency to get this done.
Or maybe just information based, you know, try to gather information so we're all very clear of where does it go, what does it entail, you know, our options.
Most certainly, I will gather some information, and then this might be a much better item to budget for, because I do believe that the cost is going to be steep.
Yeah, check into the possible costs,
Okay.
if you can.
Because, well, yeah, we're gonna start budgeting again, in January.
Commissioners, the cost would not be legal expenses at this point. It would be ascertaining which roads we are going to declare.
Okay, all right.
So we just have basically the one meeting, and then we have a tentative that we're looking at the 16th of November if we need it. Is that what we're doing? Or are we just setting the 16th and going with the voting and the health situation?
The 16th will be a canvass of the votes, and we may add the health officer to that.
And do a health board meeting along with it?
Correct. We have to close that and
So we are
open a health board
advertising
meeting.
the 16th, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But I think they send an email and say the 12th, because they have to do it by the 16th at 10 a.m. at the latest. I got an email, I think from the clerk's office. The meeting on the 16th, I think their deadline is at 10 a.m. that they have to do the canvass of the votes, so they mentioned doing it the 12th. So I can get some more information and
If we can do it on the 12th, that would be better. Not the 12th? It's the 16th.
Okay, my understanding is we had to canvass on the 16th. I will make sure of that and let everybody know.
Yeah.
But the canvassing of the votes, if it is on the 16th, which I do believe it is, I would just schedule if I were you guys for the 16th and possible the health board convening, which would be Sheriff Unger and the commissioners.
So have we set a time or anything on that?
Yes, it will be at 9 a.m. is when the meeting will, the 16th, the canvassing of the votes.
On the 16th?
Correct. At this point, that is where it stands.
Because you have 7 days to count everything that's postmarked
Correct.
November 3rd. That was it the decision in this state, or was that federal?
That would be a good Sadie question.
Okay. Because I know there's a 7-day rule on that.
That's this state. Every state has a different rule.
Okay.
Or could have.
Okay.
So, any more public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, guys. 54 minutes.